This is good.
Grab a chair.
We'll hear an echo for a second, so just,
That's right. That would be-
or a delay, there'll be weird things. So,
This is good.
as you can see. And pay note there, thank you.
And if I go into the Zoom on my laptop, will that screw you up?
No.
Okay.
If you run sound, it'll go to, like, just keep it,
Mute it.
yeah.
So you'll be able to see who's
So,
on.
yeah, so I can monitor the chat, Frank, or
I'll be able to add you as a co-host, yeah, and then you can, because, yeah, because around,
Grab chairs.
in like a half hour, like, I'm just gonna make sure, we're live streaming to YouTube too. Woo! So that's good. And, if you want to be right in the center, you scoot over about 6 inches or so.
Mhm.
Is this being recorded?
Yes,
Thank
Will it be the link for the recording be on Facebook or what?
YouTube.
And but we can
I
like,
can send you the link right now.
Exactly.
We'll have it.
This was part of my motivator to come, because I thought, when I turn on at 1 o'clock and see them all there, I'm gonna be really pissed I'm not there. Go to bed now. All work now.
Anybody want to see potato chips? Potato chips are okay until 1. An hour break with no potato chips.
But that's a quickly dad. You're assuming you haven't made it that bad yet.
Or paper bag rustling, I imagine.
Yeah, they are a little loud, I'll give you that.
Oh, that works. Okay. Sorry, I'm just me and the computer are talking.
It's okay.
Will we be able to see who the people are that are signed in?
Yeah, so once, oh yeah, and that's what I need to fix now too. Beep.
That's what I'm curious about.
Oh,
who will be here?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so I can tell you who's here now.
and then I need to add you to, wait, you are right there. So we will
There you are.
give you co-host.
So far, we've got 4 participants. There's Anna,
Wait,
Eric, and me, and then us. So far it's
And
Anna. Ooh, I'm giant. Ah,
well, we can fix that.
okay.
Me co-host. Yes. Spotlight. Gallery.
Oh, Anna.
There's Anna. Hi, Anna.
Morning, everybody.
great to see you.
Nice to see you too. Wow, I can really see all of you. It's wonderful. Hello.
One day when I want to see you, I'm just going to come knock on your door.
I know. I can't believe we live so close to each other. We haven't done that yet.
Access
Is it
to
okay to click on
Life
that?
is busy.
Will it?
Always.
YouTube link, and then you'll hear echo come through your
Oh,
speaker.
okay, but, okay, yeah,
And then yeah, you're able to admit people, and you know how to do all this.
yes,
Okay, cool.
but let's see, to get the link to the YouTube
I just sent you the email.
email. Okay.
Yep, so you can send that out everywhere. And anybody else who wants the YouTube link can just ask the front desk or KT or me. And I can email it to you or text it to you.
I can post it on Facebook, right?
Yes, yes, you can.
And you'll tell us when we're live.
We're live right now.
Hi, everybody. We are live coming to you from the rug room at the Rose Center during the camp's reunion. We are so happy to be here. I am KT Karen Traub. I'm host for the weekend. And we have a room full of folks. I think you can see who's here. Welcome to everybody. We're really excited to be here. This is our usual RCDC meeting time. And for those who don't know what RCDC is, RCDC stands for Row Camp Development Committee. And this is a group of former campers from Row who have been meeting for almost 2 years, every Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. to talk about the facilities of the Row Center camps specifically. And we have a goal of raising money to revitalize and refresh all the camp facilities, because awesome summer camps for kids need awesome spaces where awesomeness can happen. And so I'm going to put the link in the chat in case anybody wants to donate. The link will be right there. You can just click on it and send your money right in anytime. If I just posted the link to the YouTube live stream on Facebook. So please share that with your friends, comment, all that kind of stuff. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce my old camp buddy, one of the first people who welcomed me when I was a 12, 13-year-old camper here at Row, and someone that I'm just so happy to have reconnected with all these years later. I feel the spirit of Row when you know what it is. When you're here, you feel it. And it's in every single one of us. And today I'm really excited to hear George talk about the magic of Row. So without further ado, George Nichols.
Thank you, Karen. There we go. That's me.
There we are.
That's why it was.
I'm very excited to be here live streaming. This is a surprise and a wonderful opportunity. I am a senior care consultant. I think my upbringing at Row and the magic of Row has really helped me with connecting with my clients and the people who I've helped take care of. So I'm here to talk a little bit about that. I want to share my experience. I've had dozens of conversations over the years with my friends here at Row, with some of my friends who never made it to Row, but I wanted to explain what Row was. That was always a huge challenge as a teenager. By introduction, I was raised by a Unitarian Universalist minister, Vernon Nichols, who was also a pacifist, and my mother, Susan Nichols, who was a great fighter for social causes, Amnesty International, international freedom of religion, especially women's issues and freedom of religious expression. And they really prepared me well, along with the curriculum at the UU church during the Sunday school for younger kids, to come to Row. It was at a transition in my life where I was going through the time where I had previously had birthday parties for the boys in my class, and we celebrated together, and that's sort of the way things went. And I hadn't been in a gender mixed community. I was very narrowly in the band of my grade mates at school for the elementary school period. And this was an eye-opening experience to be in a junior high environment with all these kids and connecting with them. There were three main parts of connecting. One was connecting heart to heart and making very deep friendships. One was being part of a community and sharing in the life as a community member. And one was just being a kid in the Berkshires. And those three things combined for a very beautiful experience. And I was really ready to learn how to connect with people heart to heart. Now, I want to talk about this in three ways. I want to talk about this scientifically, then professionally, and then personally. Scientifically, we've learned more and more that when connecting with people from our heart, we're joining our electrical fields in a very different way than the intellectual connection we create. I always have an image of Doc Brown in Back to the Future with all these electrodes on his head. There are lots of other images through media that show similar things with people measuring brainwaves that way. And the research that they've done in 2020 at Columbia talks about how heart connection is so much bigger, up to 500 times bigger than the field created by brainwaves. And this building, the rec hall we're in, a tiny little room in it, the rug room, that takes up a fraction of the space of the building. But I have felt this building filled with the heart-to-heart connection of a camp full of people many times throughout the 70s when I was here as a camper. And it's been one of the most profound experiences of my life. Now, professionally, I noticed that one of my abilities to do customer service was really aided by the skill of looking for the beautiful uniqueness in a person, which was part of the heart-to-heart connecting. And it's why the feeling of safety and openness was possible for a kid like me, where you didn't really know how you were going to be received. You were used to a more closed-in, guarded communication in school where you weren't sharing exactly who you were. And by that example of sharing exactly how we were, it enabled me to pick up the skill of looking for that in people. And seniors, especially cantankerous old folks who are in pain, it's really hard to break through those levels into the essence of who they are, who they want to be, who they want to share with you. And the building of friendships with those people has been very similar to building friendships at Roe. And building friendships was always one of the highlights of my life from the time I got to Roe as an 11-year-old. And that was always something I valued. And I know people around me seem to be happy to learning to be my friend as well. When we talk about intimacy, there have been research studies that use a bell curve approach that say people have had 15 minutes of intimate connection in their lifetime. And if you know how the bell curve goes, there are people way out here with much more connection and people way back here who are getting little to no connection. And it totally blew my mind when they talked about 15 minutes being a lifetime worth of connection. Because I surpassed that every year I was at Roe, intimately connecting with my friends here and feeling part of something. I just can't imagine people who don't feel that on a regular basis. But research shows that intimate connection is something that's special. And I think that is part of the magic of Roe, is that intimate connection that is just not as available in the wider world. There have been advances in modern medicine combining with traditional medicine, herbalism. A lot of chiropractors have been on the edge between alternative medicine and bringing that into the mainstream. And in many cases, we're finding out as we do more and more research, as in the research around how big a field around a heart is, that there are scientific explanations for what's going on in the energetic medical field. And I'm very happy that I have experienced some of that. And I think Roe set me up to appreciate that in a very unique way. Also, professionally, I have gone through situations where I started work for a company and they noticed something about me, a leadership quality that I built in the community here at Roe. I've had a couple connections just this weekend, conversation with Craig talking about being a 16-year-old as a spirit and having somebody come up to him and ask him what was going on, and the mind-blowing experience of being the responsible person. That was not how he saw himself, but to have a younger senior high camper look at him as that leader changed his perspective, not only of what he was doing, but what he could do. And it was fun to have that example from yesterday as just a conversation that goes around here in Roe. And this reunion weekend is a very important thing that I'm happy to be sharing. I'm looking out in the people listening, and there are some familiar faces, and I'm very delighted to say some new faces, people that I had never met until we arrived here at Roe for this weekend. And I think it's a real critical time in the Roe journey. And I like to look at it as COVID was sort of a force that washed out the road to Roe and contributed very heavily to the fact that we're not having the kids camper program here this year. People at Roe are very committed to having that program next year, and there have been efforts working to make sure it happened this year that were not quite successful, but those efforts will be redoubled with the canceling of camp and the bringing in of committed people to work on a committee just to find out what's going on, to do the outreach, to reach out to our larger community here in New England and the greater New York area down as far as we can go. Those are the main areas that were feeding Roe when I was here, but there were plenty of outliers coming from further away. But that community needs to know that Roe's had a painful time and has not come through the pandemic unscarred. So we commit ourselves to doing this work. Those of us who are here this weekend know how wonderful it is to come up the road, turn on to King's Highway, and really feel that we're home. And that's been a wonderful thing to see other people talking about in predominantly the 80s campers who've joined us this year and are just as delighted. I've seen so many signs of deep happiness in them for being here and reconnecting. I look forward to talking to them about how long it's been since they've been here. Personally, through hospice care, I was blown away when in my early 50s, one of my friends from LRY, who'd also grown up through the UU youth group and had that connection to me, even though he'd never been at Roe with me, told me one day that he had some version of stage 4 terribly spread cancer and he wasn't going to make it. And in that moment, the value I put on our friendship and our connection outweighed my sadness of thinking about losing him when I realized that I could help him live every day until his last day and help him do what he wanted to do, say goodbye to people, be connected with our community, and live for the day with the connection. And it was so special to me to be finding a calling. I'd had jobs. I hadn't found a calling. And in helping him thread his way to his last day, I learned from the gratitude his brother had, from the way other members of our community stood by him and stood up and said, yes, I want to be part of your last days. We can have a really good extended goodbye. And it's a different approach to hospice, but he was a young man. I knew his story. We were friends and had spent a lot of time together. I knew he had gotten his heart broken at 17 and never found a partner that equaled that relationship. And he had been a vital member of our community as a cook at many of our gatherings, as a friend. He had been just such a wonderful friend to me when I needed a friend and had hard times in my life, sitting in his basement, looking at his books, which he freely shared with me. It was a connection that I'll never forget. I think of him often. I have some souvenirs of him in my kitchen and in my closet. And just because he's gone doesn't mean I can't reach to him for a little bit of solace, of good memory. This has helped me build my practice in senior care, being able to be there for someone, find a friendship basis with somebody with dementia who didn't seem like they could be reached, and spending the time to find out what we had in common, and then building on that and having the impish storyteller sort of just fun times with each other as they lived through their days. And I helped to keep them at home. That has always been part of my business, is learning how to extend people's life at their home. If you think about your vision of how you want to go, surrounded by your children and your friends, it includes community, it includes home. And I think that changing the way we take care of our seniors is something possible to do. And I think the magic here at Row can be a very significant part of that. I'm hoping that other people will be willing to share what their experience of the magic of Row has been, either through comments online or through verbally expressing them now. We will have time for people from the YouTube audience and from the audience here to speak. I can answer questions as well, but I would much prefer comments and sharing if anybody is willing to either come up and sit where I'm sitting and speak, or from the audience. I have shared what I wanted to share, in that Row has been an important part of my life growth and development. It will always be home. I will always be trying to keep Row Camp alive for the kids who are coming in the future, and make sure there's a great home for them to have here. But I want to remind people that this is a resource, a place of strength, love, and acceptance that is good for any transition in life and any time in life. Coming back here and finding that can give you the strength to open up a little more to somebody and to allow somebody to open up to you. So I really appreciate everybody for being part of the audience who's listened. And now I'd like to open the floor to anybody who'd like to speak.
I'll go first. I'll take the hot seat.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hi, everybody. So I'm KT, and I was a camper here when I was 12 or 13 years old, and I'm so happy to see some of my friends. Julie was one of my best friends when I was here, and she showed me the ropes. She showed me around the physical aspects of Row, but more importantly, she shared her heart with me. And her beautiful mom was here at that time, and friendships that we made together. And that idea of finding myself when I was a 12, 13-year-old kid and being able to be who I am. And I've always, ever since that time, when I've needed to be like most myself, I've come back to Row. I came in the 80s when I was a young adult. I came for Liberation Camp, and I was like, this is who I want to be. This is how I want to be in the world. And then I became a counselor, like a lot of people who are in the human services field, in part because of the experience of caring that we got here at Row. And I was married at Row. So the chapel has always been like my spiritual home. And throughout my life, when I felt lost, I've come back and I just go and I just sit in the chapel. And during COVID, actually, I thought we could all die. Like the world, it feels like the world is ending. What do I need? And at that time, I needed Row. And what did I see on Facebook? Come home to Row. It was an invitation to come home to Row. And I followed it, and I joined the board. And it's quite a tumultuous time to be here in the 99th year. And I have felt more strongly than ever the spirit of Row, the magic of Row coming through me. Like in spite of whatever else is going on, there's just this feeling of peace and of love and of what human connection really is about. And I feel it here today in this room. I wish I knew how to move the camera so I could show all the faces here, but it's been an amazing weekend so far. Different constituencies, different groups of people coming together, all sharing the love of Row. And we had a campfire last night, and there was a lot of laughter and goofiness and some deep connection that's been taking place. And the food is freaking amazing. So yeah, so people come back, feel welcome, and come back to Row, because post-COVID, I feel like we've lost connection. We've forgotten how to be together. People are fighting. People are like, there's something that's lost. And I feel like, I hope other people will share their experience of what it feels like to come back here in this moment. So who's ready to sit in the hot seat?
I am.
Yes, Hal.
Where's the camera?
It's over there.
YouTube. There you are. My name is Hal Westwood, and longtime Rowie. I came here first, I believe, in 1974, 12 years old, for junior high camp, and went on to attend camp as a camper and then as a CIT and spirit and counselor and staff member, board member. And I've stayed in touch with Row, the town of Row, and Doug and Prue over the years. But this is the first time I've been back as a camper. And I've been flooded with memories that I haven't thought about in a long time. And I just know how critical this experience was for my formation as a human being in how to treat one another on this planet. Today, kids are having a rough time in society, a really rough time. We are so tuned in and so isolated from one another. And I just retired last June after serving our public schools for 27 years. And I've seen firsthand the decline in young people's ability to connect with one another in real ways. And we need this camp for young people. They need it so badly. And we've got to find a way to keep it happening, because it is magical. And for every little bit of magic that comes out of this place, it spreads. I've been able to spread some of the magic of my life with other people. I'm so thankful for that. Not only for what Roe gave me, but for what growing up as a Unitarian gave me. And yeah, let's keep the spirit alive. Do this for our kids, their kids.
Okay, I'm Wendy and I came here in 1983 as Wendy Bolton, and I'm now Wendy Jensen for my son's sake. And when I came here at 15 years old, I had no concept of who I was as a person. I came from a very emotionally devoid family, very strict. Father was a captain in the Coast Guard, and I had no space to explore self, to play and have fun and all of the things that good childhoods have. And when I got here, I saw people running up to each other and hugging and greeting each other in a way that I'd never seen outside in the so-called real world. And I had this immediate sense that there was something magical here and there was something different here, and that something was going to change in me. I'm glad I had that little inkling, because I had no idea exactly how big it was going to be. I basically, it was almost like my life started when I got here. My authentic life started. I started the journey of who am I? What am I about? What do I care about? How do I have real friendships, conversations that really matter and mean something? And a lot of outrageous fun, a whole lot of outrageous fun. And through that process, some of my closest friends, probably very much my closest friends, were the people that I went to camp with here. And I think some of the reason for that was because we were all discovering ourselves in the presence and dance of each other. So we're literally connecting on that authentic soul to soul level. And that is timeless. I don't doubt for a second those people will be in my life forever and maybe at my side when I'm taking my last breath. Also, I wanted to say that the land here, I would love to have a conversation with the native people that used to inhabit this area, because I am almost 99.9% sure that this was a very sacred space for them as well. There is incredible power on this land, which supports what happens here and adds this level of mystery and magic that I don't even have adequate words for. And I've barely scratched the surface of what it's all about. I'm an empath, I'm a sensitive, I'm an energy healer. So I'm very tapped into these kind of things. And this is the most powerful spot I've ever been on the planet. And I've been to like 12 countries by now, I think. So I was here from 83 to 86, and I wished I had found the place much earlier so I could have started, at least at junior high. But those 4 years changed everything and gave me the ability to go out into the world with some sense of purpose and some hope for what humanity can be. And I still hold that today because of these experiences here. I know what is possible for human beings because of the type of community I experienced here. And it doesn't mean absence of conflict by any means, but it's how to hold loving space to work through conflict, as an example. I did go through a grief process, though, when I left in 86, because I thought the door was closed for me and that I couldn't come back here. And that was very deeply sad for me. And I got lost for a while. I went down the path of addiction. And actually, when I got to the end of my addiction, about 11 straight years of using drugs and alcohol, and I had this moment where I was basically staring death in the face. And
I chose life. I chose to get clean because I knew there was someone worth saving because of who I found when I came here. So I literally owe this place my life. I will be hopefully celebrating 29 years clean and sober on July 17th. So I also got clean with that choosing life and stayed clean because of who I am that I found here. I came back here in 2006 because I somehow randomly got a catalog from Roe. I had gone off the mailing list at some point and hadn't received anything for ages. And just randomly I got a catalog and I looked through it and said, I wonder if there is something for me. And I found Kindred Spirits. And I was like, oh my God, they have a camp for adults. I get to go again. And so one of my best friends, who's also my kid's godfather, came with me for the first time in 2006. And I had this complete meltdown in the parking lot because it was like all the years in between, it was almost like I felt maybe this didn't really happen. I can't really explain it, but it was like, could this possibly have been real, everything I experienced? And when I got here and I saw the farmhouse and I was on the land, it just fell apart. My God, it really was real. And I get to be here again. I get to be here again. That first year at Kindred Spirits, I lived in this dual reality the whole time, experiencing what was happening at camp now and all the ghosts of all my friends and all the memories from all the places all over the campus. It was the most remarkable experience. So I started Kindred Spirits in 2006 and I've continued to today. I served as co-director for Kindred Spirits from 2009 through 2011, and I'm currently co-director for Kindred Spirits again. This will be the third year this year. And I don't think I could do life without it. Being able to come here and be on this land and recharge every year, being able to connect on that soul to soul, heart to heart level every summer. And Kindred Spirits is also a community that exists outside of Roe. We have, gatherings throughout the year, but it's being on this land and coming here that is the mainstay of who we are and what we do. But we truly get to do camp again, and I adore it. What I used to say happened to us sort of accidentally at senior high when we went deep with each other, we do on purpose as adults at Kindred Spirits, and it's phenomenal. But I am and have been since I first came here, absolutely dedicated to whatever I can do to help this place. And like I said, it saved my life. And so I stay open to Spirit's guidance about how am I to serve? What is my part to do? And that's an ongoing discovery or journey. But I'm hoping anyone who watches this, who has been connected with Roe in the past, may also feel that call. Because what I'm sensing is that we need to really cast a very wide net right now and communicate with just about everyone we can that has experienced the magic of the Rose Spirit, to gather that information of what was it that made it so special for you? How did it transform your life? And really hearing from the young people today, what do you guys need? What do you need from us? How can we hold that sacred space for you without being overbearing? What are the conversations your generation needs to have? How can we support that? And talking to the older generations again about what were the traditions and the practices that meant so much to you. What was it about how the staff was or wasn't that allowed you to really feel that freedom to be yourself and discover who you are? So when I found out camps weren't happening this summer, I didn't have a big emotional reaction, and I was grateful for that. I kind of stayed feeling at peace. So that gives me a huge amount of hope that it's going to all work out in a good way. Yeah, so I trust in that, and I am here to do my part. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Great. Anybody else want to jump in? Yeah, all right.
Hello, beautiful humans. Hi, I love you. You, right there. You don't believe me. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being Roe. Thank you for having this space and for all of these wonderful people in this room. When I came to Roe, sometime in the early 80s to sometime in the late 80s. And I say that because there are these times in my life that expand out well past the borders of the actual time that they existed in. And my time at Roe is huge in my memory. It's a whole block of my life. when I came here for junior high camp, I was really alone. I was an only child, and I had two single parents who moved all around. So I was always in different schools, and I was tall and gangly, and my body didn't work in any of the ways I needed it to. And I got bullied and teased a lot for being different. And I came to Roe, and for the first time, there were all of these people who were all also different. They weren't like me. I wasn't like them. They were all different in their own different, unique ways. And it was the first time I didn't feel alone. I felt connected to this group of people for the first time. And it made all the difference. At the circle we had last night as we were all meeting each other, I talked about how Roe activated things in me that have widened out to be guiding principles in my life. And it planted seeds in me that have opened me to the work that I've ended up doing in this room right here. I'm very queer, in case you can't tell. In this room right here, I took acting workshops, and I did my first improv games that afterwards I took home to Cape Cod, where I grew up, and I taught these improv games to all my friends because it was all I wanted to do. And I made friends through those games I did here. And those games led me to Second City in Chicago and to LA, which led me to coming out as transgender, which led me to reconnect with the activism that I had learned here at Roe, and the concern for the world and for our souls and for people. And that acting teacher here at Roe was also the first gay man I had ever encountered. And we existed. There were these other people who could lead. I remember he had his son here, and I thought, wow, that's so normal and wonderful. And I saw the first people wearing clothes of different genders here. And that opened up possibilities, because I knew I was trans at that point, but I didn't know what to do with it. There were no examples. And Roe, this place, opened up those things as a possibility that could grow in me, that I could nurture. And this is the first time I've been back since 1989 or 1990 or something like that. And I was talking to a few people and saying how Roe has this way of doing things so that even the things here that are new feel familiar. And I want to nurture that. And I want this place to be that for a whole new generation of people who need that connection that they didn't know they can make here. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Lorelei McLaughlin.
Arisis.
Arisis.
Lorelei Arisis McLaughlin. You can find me. Google me. Don't go too far.
Julie, you're on. Unmute.
Hi, guys. It's really good to see all of you. Hi, Doug. So I quite literally grew up at Roe. I started going there when I was 10 and all the way through till I was 18, and then went back on staff when I was in my 20s. And so it wasn't just like the time that I was there, but I would do like all my growing at Roe. And then I would go home for the school year and I would just put one foot in front of the other and try not to let anybody know who I was. And then go back to camp and like do the rest of the growing for that year, and including, physically growing. I mean, like it was like I was really stunted without Roe. And I don't know if I would have been so stunted if I didn't know that I could do that. Right. I mean, if I had to, I would have done it on my own at home. I would have grown up. But I was really fortunate to have a choice. And we look back on camp and it's real easy to canonize it as a place, right? Because we all love it so much. And, there is that kind of magic in the mountains and, up behind Henry where it's like, clearly there's something going on up there. But it's flawed. It was flawed. It was just as flawed then as it is now. It's just, how did we deal with it? And in some ways we did a shitty ass job of that too. There were people getting sexually assaulted at camp. There were people, feeling really lonely. There were people doing drugs. There were people, there was all sorts of stuff going on that either got swept under the rug or dealt with. Sometimes they were dealt with, but there was a structure in place for us. And it felt, in some ways, I feel like it may have felt safer for us because of that structure, because of the relationship between the staff and the campers and the lack of toxicity, that I feel exists now. And I don't think we can make a perfect camp. I don't think it's going to happen. And its imperfections are part of what made it so special, right? But I do think we can reboot, and we can just clear out all the cookies. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like clear out all the muck and try to get back to a place where, people come and sing and dance and have noon meeting and gather together and talk about their t-shirts and just do some really innocent stuff and not have it be 100% about sitting around talking, that kind of thing. I just feel like there was so much just physical stuff that happened that brought us all out. And I'm seeing Maura over there. And, Barton was like, I mean, I loved you too. That didn't stop. But Barton was like a thing for me to hold on to, like, all year long. Like, he, when I was 10 years old, I asked him to teach me the jitterbug, and he did. And it was just like some real special stuff that went on that was super physical, and nobody, like cheering at the, townie game, and stuff like that. That was really special, and, feeling good about our bodies. And I want that all to come back, sans all the vitriol that's happening. And yeah.
I have a question that I've been meaning to ask you. So here we are together. And so I know that since 2019, a lot of work has been done on gathering from people what was special about their experience at Roe, generally and specifically traditions,
Mhm.
songs, activities.
Uh-huh.
And I know that, didn't you worked on that, right? Did you and EB work on that together? Making a list of songs and
Oh,
cheers.
yeah, we did do that. We did do that.
Where is that? Could we have that? Could we add to it? It would be something that I think a lot of people here would love to
Mhm.
contribute to, because I don't like, I go to dinner and like, oh, come on, what's a Row song? Come on, like, it would be great
Yeah.
to have them, right there on the list. So if you could, take a look and find that, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Also, that thing about toxicity, it's everywhere in the world, and it has
Mhm.
unfortunately kind of come to Row. But I can tell you right now from this room, the healing spirit that's coming from here right now, I believe personally, is going to undo a lot of the crap that happened over the last few years. And a lot of it was COVID. It was just a crazy world. And I think we're all ready we know how important the camps are, and we're not going to let them die. We're going to start from the spirit of Row, and we're going to reboot. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you. It gets very scary to watch what's going on for all of us.
Yep.
And I'm just really, I have a recurring nightmare that they're building condos behind Henry, and that there's like a really cute little town where they sell candles, and all the stores look like old colonial houses and stuff like that. And I literally, it's like the biggest nightmare of my life. It's recurring. I wake up and I'm like, okay, it's not really. So I think that just any kind of change, up there is hard. Like, we all want to hold on to what is sacred for us, and I hope we can. So anyway, it's really good to see you. And when you said, I showed you around, I mean, I honestly think we smoked a lot of cigarettes together.
We did. We smoked a lot of cigarettes. Yep.
And we were
The
young.
bonding thing. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks, Jules. And Eleanor has her hand up. So Eleanor, if you want to unmute. She's looking for the unmute button.
There she is.
There we go.
There she is.
Yeah. Hey.
Okay, so wow, I wasn't going to talk, but Jules, you just undid me, you and Hal, because everybody spoke so eloquently about what Row, how we got here, what it did for us, with us, to us, all together. And I'm sorry I was late. I didn't know this was happening, so honestly, I'm still in my pajamas. And I got here in the middle of George speaking, which was so great. And it was like, oh my God, I have to go to this meeting. And I also want to give a shout out to Hal for the beautiful things that he said about the needs of the young people. And those are really, I mean, the two of you really are what sort of compelled me to talk. I was reminded, because I don't feel like I need to recite what I got here, just take my words from everybody else's words. What has been happening for me lately, number one, is that I had both my older brother and my older sister went to Row. My brother was 14 years older than I, so almost a different generation, and my sister 7 years older. And my brother, came to camp in the 50s, completely different universe than our universe. And he had a completely different life than my life. He spent his career in the Navy and then working in various government agencies, none of which any of us would have anything good to say about. I loved him. He played the guitar. He was a wonderful musician. He died in 2015, and but he went to Roe, and I went to Roe, and we connected about that. And that was an amazing thing. And so, since I don't have children, I wonder often, what is my legacy going to be? Besides, giving away whatever money I have. And if I could help keep that connection through the generations alive at Roe, that would be the thing. So Hal, yeah, thank you for reminding us of the meaning and purpose, I think, of going forward. And thank you, Julie, for bringing up the toxicity. I don't think I have ever, this is something I don't think I have ever talked about in a meeting. It's not something I have ever said in public, but I was assaulted at Roe. It was a long time ago, and I'm not going to go through the details. And I don't think about it very often, except for when the Me Too stuff started happening. And it was a terrible thing, and it never made me feel unsafe there afterwards. The community and the years and the friendships and the everything just outweighed it so spectacularly that it's not, it's barely a blip on my screen now. So I was super glad to hear you talk about that. That shit happens. And the question is, how do we deal with it? And that I think is really our challenge going forward. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Eleanor. Thanks. And thank you for your board service and all your love and care to Roe. Everybody, Julie, everybody, Anna. I'm just looking, and so many people have given so much. And thank you is a good thing to say to people. George, you want to take over?
Wow. Thank you, everybody who spoke. I had hoped to be able to start a conversation, and this is a great group to start a conversation with. I wanted to add a bit about the specialness of Roe. When I came to Roe, it was Roe Camp. I imagine the idea for the conference center was rolling around in Doug's head or somebody else's head, and eventually it came to reality.
The board.
And that's a great thing, but it was simple. When we were starting in the early 70s, every person here was focused on Roe Camp as Roe Camp. And I need to remind myself of how different it has become, where it's Roe Camp and Conference Center, and there's a lot going on here. And it's just not as simple. We had the Vietnam War we were all against, and the adults who were with us didn't seem to be part of the oppressive others. And to me, making allies among older people who were not my parents, to the relationship I built with Julie's mother, Margaret, it was something so special and so important in my entire life, to have that friendship and know that there were other people who with a sense of humor could look at things and not be a parental force, but could be a wise force in gently guiding me to a good decision or two. That was something that was new to me. I had not made a lot of friends of adults outside my family. And to have Doug and Margaret as some of the first ones I did that with was a pretty spectacular pair to help lead me. Thank you all for participating, for listening, for letting us know how you felt about the things that you found important and the perspectives that you had individually help us realize how important this is as a whole. I don't know if anybody else has any final things. I think everybody who has wanted to speak has had a chance, and
Although,
I-
George, I wouldn't mind.
we have Judd coming up from the back to sit in the hot seat, and I have said my closing words, and now we hear from our board president, and take it away, Judd.
I am the board president, and I am fabulously thrilled that we can go forward to name and be the kind of row camp we all love and regard. I am a preacher's kid, so I understand being picked on from K through 12 because we didn't look Christian. And I got picked on all the time as a preacher's kid. No matter what church my father served, the community was a little bit shy and but very aggressive towards our faith. And our principled faith held me through all of it. So when I would come to summer camp, I was happy to be with people who were not going to pick on me, that actually understood our UU principled values and understood that we were inclusive no matter what, and that it made a difference in our lives. So I was really blessed to have at every church that my father served, adults who really loved and adored me and my sister and my brother. And so I would get that well of self-authority throughout my whole life because of that. High school and junior high didn't mean much to me. Public school didn't mean much to me. It was too much. It was too cliquish, too competitive, too outrageous. And again, I was marginalized and often looked at as other. And so it didn't matter. It just didn't matter to me because I was a Unitarian 4 generations and a Universalist 9 generations, right here in Western Massachusetts. And therefore my anchor has always been here. And the Greenfield Church is my dad's church, is his parents' church, is his grandparents' church, All Souls Greenfield. And they are in the book. I have seen their signatures.
The name says it all.
From 1825, All Souls,
Also.
Unitarian Universalist Church. So I just want you to know that I'm full. I'm full and I'm ready and I'm prepared. And I have been for the last 2 years that I've been on the board to not only do followership, wanting to be in the mix with everyone else and follow this, but also that servant leadership role that makes sense to me, that I'm here to serve. So I just wanted you to know that the board is fully stepped in. We are fully committed to our 100 years, and it's going to be glorious. So thanks.
Try to get some enthusiasm in there.
Planning chapel tonight at about 8, and I hope I'll see you there, and I don't want to give anything away.
Decided. That comes about 4 o'clock this afternoon, right?
Okay.
But tell everybody you're about to do it.
Okay, everybody, let's do the row cheer to end and then we'll be done. Ready for row? Can we do it for row?
Here we need
R-O-W-E, row. Are we happy? You should know.
No.
R-O-W-E,
row. Row.
row.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
This is Windows.
It's just close it. And then the last thing.
Now we can eat our potato chips again. Great, yes, we were told we could eat potato chips during the broadcast.
Thank you, Sue.
I comply. I made a lot of noise taking that lid off my salad.
Well, that
Yeah,
now-
just hit enter. That's the,
But I just ended. No.
okay, it doesn't, oh, it should have let you.
I am here. Oh, boy.
Why isn't it? It's not.
Look up there.
I know, I can see it, up there,
Jane.
but I can't make it.
Hi, Jane.
God, I hate this kind of mice.
Oh, because I don't know how to scroll them out.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that.
But I. So I wasn't. Not as much fun as it was when you're 8 years old.
I hate these mice. We'll do it this way. It's gonna be a butt head.
Go down to the chapel.